ever seen any of them films with Bud Spencer and Terence Hill? Someone years ago mentioned these two to me, and I was like watching one film, a part of their film, and I was like, it's this guy, whoever it was, I can't even remember who it was now, was crazy about this duo. And I was watching a tiny bit of it as he put it on, and I was like, yeah, it's funny, yeah, it's pretty good, yeah, it's cool. But at the back of my head, it was like, what is this? What is this? Even though there was something kind of charming about it at the time, but I just didn't really follow up to look into them and their movies, which is quite bizarre because their movies actually are pretty good. There was about 17 or 18 of them that they made. And they're pretty bizarre because these guys are from Italy, they're Italian, and yet they made a lot of films in America, Miami and stuff like that, and they went to different places too. I haven't seen all of them yet. I've only watched about 4 or 5 of them, or 3 or 4 of them, something like that. But it's got a certain charm to it. They got a certain charm, these two guys, to the way that they performed in the movies. And the movies themselves were pretty tacky in a way. Bad acting, the dubbing. I think they were speaking in Italian and they dubbed it. They were like spaghetti westerns in a different way. I think they called them something else. Can't remember what they called them, but they're kind of like that. But they've got a certain charm to them, even though they're imperfect and the cinematography isn't very good. There's a lot of wobbly cameras and a lot of bad cinematography, acting and stuff like that. But they make up for it with their charm and the characters and the story, and the ludicrous silliness of the whole thing is really watchable and really good fun. So I came across this film last week, this film that I didn't even know existed. I just remembered that there was this guy that could not, he had superpowers and he could not he couldn't have access to his superpowers if he's seen the color red. That's all I knew. This is going back to when I was like 10 or 11 or something like that, and I remember seeing this film. So for years and 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 years, I thought that this film wasn't even real. I didn't even know if it was real. So I looked up on Google 3 or 4 nights ago and put in "man loses superpowers when he sees red." So this film came up and it was called Super Fuzz or Super Trooper. I was watching it on BitChute and I instantly thought, like, geez, this is the film that I remember when I was really young. So I was watching it and I have to admit, man, it was fucking really, really stupid and really good and really good fun. And only one of the guys was in this film, not Bud Spencer. He wasn't in it. Terence Hill was in the movie with Ernest Borgnine, and it was set in Miami, and it was very stupid, very superhero-like in a kind of like comic book way, and very idiotic and bad cinematography. But like I said, if you know anything about movies, it isn't about getting everything perfect. It's about this magic touch which transcends all of everything that has to be, oh, look, these neurotic cinematographers and these neurotic directors thinking everything has to be perfect. No, there has to be this secret touch to it. And then once you have that, you can pretty much be amateurish with all the rest of it. But it still has, just say if you think of the film Pearl Harbor, I don't even know why I thought of that. It was a film, this is why I thought of it. It was a film that me and my younger brother walked out of years ago called Pearl Harbor. And we just looked at each other at one point. It was halfway through the film and we walked out. We didn't even say it. We just walked out. What a load of crap. What a load of nonsense the film was. And when we walked out of it, we walked right to we walked out right to the wall. And the way out was to the left. And we were looking for the exit. And a lot of the people in the cinema were laughing because we were looking for the door and it wasn't there. That was the funniest part of the film, right? But anyway, like, everything was perfect in that film, right? The cinematography, the color, the big money behind it, the big budgets, you know, it was way better than the real Pearl Harbor, which actually didn't even happen, which was fake. The Japanese didn't attack Pearl Harbor. What a joke all that was. That was just a ruse to get the American people into World War II to attack Germany and Japan and destroy nationalism. That's all that was. If you look into Pearl Harbor, there's no photographs, there's no nothing. It's just a joke. Anyway, we're not going to go off on a tangent there in that direction. So when I think of the film Super Trooper, it's very much like that. You need to have that special touch, that magic sauce, and that's what makes the movie. So these other films with Bud Spencer and Terence Hill. I was watching one this morning called Double Trouble. They're all on YouTube. They're all on YouTube. Even Superfuzz is on YouTube. And they're worth looking at because they're a good way of looking at the way that movies should be looked at in a way. It doesn't have to always be perfect. And sometimes striving for perfection, it's like, just say if you watched Oppenheimer. I'm not watching it because it connects on to some of the stuff to do with Pearl Harbor and the lies and stuff, like atomic weaponry. Like, what, they used it once? They went to the moon once? That alone should point people in a direction of like, wait a second, these things don't exist. Nuclear weapons don't exist. Going to the moon never existed. It's all fake so they can get all their budgets next year through NASA and rob the taxpayers. That's all it's there for. And to scare people as well. Nuclear weapons. We could nuke the whole planet. Don't think so. Don't think so. You can drop phosphorus and you can drop bombs and stuff like that in small areas with loads of bombers like they've done in Dresden and all the other 100 and odd cities that they've done in Germany and Japan and all the rest of it. But nuclear weaponry, I haven't seen any evidence of it. You have to show me evidence if you want me to believe something. Okay. So anyway, when you look at all these things to do with perfection, I'm not even going to look at these movies. But if you think of something like Super Trooper and Super Fuzz that has a better filmmaking technique than a lot of these movies with a very anal approach to all of them. You know, I've suffered under this a tiny bit with the small films that I make. Not suffered so much, but I look at it and go like, well, you know, really, you want really interesting people in the film. Because if we don't have interesting people in the film is not really going to be that good. It's like having uninteresting people at a party. The party's going to close early, right? They're not going to be that interesting. So if you have uninteresting people in your movie, you can have the best cinematographer there in the world. You can have the best director. You can have the best this, that, and the other, and the best ideas. Now, these films weren't anything special. Nothing at all, really. But they're very endlessly watchable and very good fun, especially Bud Spencer. Bud Spencer was kind of like, they're like Laurel and Hardy in a way, right? But Bud Spencer, I wouldn't say he's better than Terence Hill in the films, but he's got this kind of like certain charm to him, this kind of like roguish, kind of masculine, very masculine kind of like approach to things. And it's just the way that he goes on is very, very, very watchable. And he doesn't do that much. He doesn't try too hard, which makes him very watchable. All right, so to go back to the guy that showed me one of their films years ago, I didn't really get it. And then when I watched a couple of films, it's like, geez, man, these guys are really good. Really, really good and really, really watchable and really good fun. You know, so that's all I really wanted to talk about there. That's what came up. So, adios.